Childhood was interesting in the fact that my father was in the military and my grandfather was a carpenter who lived in Laurium, Michigan. Eventually my parents would buy his house, and when my father went to places that we were unable to, like Korea or like Germany, and he had to wait for housing in that, and we would come back and stay with my grandfather. I basically became very familiar with being in a place and about 2 to 3 years almost expecting to move, because that was a common rotation time for the military. I had many different friends of many different nationalities, and I actually enjoyed switching schools and that. It wasn't anything that I was fearful of. Well, we grew up far more isolated. This area, at one time when we come back up here, they didn't have television. There was no Channel 6. I remember Channel 6 coming on and going off. Beyond 5 minutes, go off for an hour, come back on, and you kind of look through the snow. And it was a fantastic thing. You know, radio was interesting because how did they do that? But I remember a lot of days, and I remember pictures in my mind of a lot of places. And it's just the way I am. But I remember being at Michigan Tech and going for a walk with a friend, and I had time between classes, sometimes a lot of time I would spend in the archives at Michigan Tech. And nice days we would go for a walk. And we walked over to Hancock, and we looked in a window. And that's when the days when they had TVs in the window and they were on. And the thing of the scroll on the bottom, because you obviously couldn't hear through the window, but the scroll on the bottom was President Kennedy is shot. So everybody remembers exactly where they were. I remember exactly. His father answered the door. His mother had died, his grandmother was there, his aunt was there. The Memphis Mafia, Red West, and all the people who were closely associated with him for a long time were there. But the door opened, and the only thing you could hear was a song called It's Only Make Believe, done by Conway Twitty, which was real popular in the United States. So Elvis came to the door and he said, "Well, come in." And he was quiet and shy. He had 2 sports cars out there, a white one and a red one. People used to write with lipstick and different things on those cars all the time. And the first question he said is, "Are any of you just recently over here? Did you leave the United States recently?" He says, "We have this record, but I really don't have any pictures of this guy. I don't know who he is. Some people say he sounds kind of like me." And he said, "You know, I think my music career is done. They got me at a time, and I was, for that period, and I don't know what's going to happen. Everything being released now was recorded before I left." So none of us could help him because we had all been there for a while. And he really wanted to know, though, about what competition might be out there. So we spent about an hour with him. I got a dollar bill signed by his father and him. He said, "Oh, we were going to have you eat here, but I've got attorneys and record people who just got here from New York, and they want to get back as soon as they can. So that became really, you know, when you say the story of your life, to me, I relate a lot of things to what was happening to Elvis at that time. Know what I really wanted to do? Senior year, I thought I'd go to Michigan Tech because I could transfer anything out of there, and it was cheaper than SUNY at that time, Finlandia now. So I went to Michigan Tech, and as I started to schedule the second year, I was finding more and more, because they were on a quarter system, not a semester system, and I had decided that teaching maybe was something I wanted to do. So I transferred to Finlandia, took 6 classes, and then transferred to Northern. Enjoyed it, but at that time it was serious business. I mean, you went to school, you figure 4 years, 4 years. And then eventually they made it 4 years, 4 years because of the draft in the Vietnam War. If you weren't done after 4 years, it didn't matter. You were now eligible. When I started Michigan Tech in 1963, the engineering students used slide rules. That was a whole course in itself of how to take, because it had all the numbers on it, and you had to move a slide through the center of it and match up numbers. Today you punch it in and it comes out. Simple calculator, handheld calculator in the 50s didn't exist.
I know it's only make-believe. My one and only prayer is that someday you'll care. My hopes, my dream come true. My one and only you. No one will ever know how much I love you so. My only prayer will be someday you care for me, but it's only make-believe. My hopes, my dreams come true. My life I'd give for you.